Yay! So welcome everyone. This time I'm not going live, but that's okay because we're not editing anything. This is no prep needed. So candid conversation. And I am so excited because I have with me Cody Lowry, all about the schmooze. Do you have your book, by the way? Is your book there?
I have my book. It's called Schmooze, What They Should Teach at Harvard Business School. It's been endorsed by Alan Dershowitz, Hal Steinbrenner of the Yankees, Tim Gannon, co-founder of Outback Steakhouse, and it's getting great reviews. And I hope people, maybe after our conversation here, will run out and get a book or go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and get it.
You know, I back in the 80s, I actually went to the Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I love that you kind of say that that was like an important book of the time. And now your book is the important book of the time. But at first I want to ask you, is schmooze a Jewish word? I'm Jewish, and we used to grow up with it.
It is a Jewish word. It comes from the Yiddish word schmoozen, which means to chat idly in a friendly or persuasive manner, especially to gain favor. And what I've done in the book, Adrienne, is I've redefined the word schmooze. You know, schmooze takes on a negative connotation, kind of like Eddie Haskell. Hello, Mrs. Cleaver. Hello, Mr. Cleaver. Oh, your hair looks so nice, man. You know, that's schmoozing, right? And when you look at how I've redefined the word schmooze, it's about a winning smile, about making a great first impression. It's about building relationships. It's about generosity, perseverance, appreciating. And I think first and foremost, it's about being kind to all, regardless of class.
I love that. I would add confidence too. You have to have the confidence to schmooze, right?
Well, you do have to have confidence, but if you read the chapters in the book, you will gain that confidence.
Ooh, and that's what a lot of people need.
Well, yeah, they do need confidence. And I guess it's a lesson in perseverance and all kinds of things. You know, in the book, the sizzle, as I call it, they talk about setting up a meeting with the president of the United States in 1 week, getting a baseball signed by the Pope, carrying the torch in the Olympic torch relay, being gifted a Super Bowl ring by one of NFL's Hall of Fame coaches, teeing it up at Augusta National with the head of CBS. That's a great story. And then within a 48-hour period, Adrienne, I managed to work out an audition with Saturday Night Live.
I mean, that's amazing.
It was all by the schmooze. But when you look at that, that's the sizzle, right? That gets people into the book, and they're great stories, and they're all in the book. But again, it's about other things. It's about the little guy and reaching out to him. It's about perseverance. Yeah, it's about confidence. It's about being a contrarian. It's about schmoozing from the podium. I think every parent ought to teach their kids, maybe not how to speak from the podium, but get up, act, get in front of people, and get used to schmoozing in front of people, I guess the best way to put it.
My gosh, you could really have this whole, instead of Toastmasters, have the Schmooze Fest.
There you go. There you go.
I love that idea. It doesn't come naturally. It's funny that when they say the biggest fear is really speaking. So schmoozing is not so easy, but are you able to share any of those stories? If you said, Adrienne, pick one, that would be the president one.
Yeah. I think to put everything in the proper perspective, I'd like to kind of share with you how I started schmoozing at age 11.
All right, I'm all ears.
Yeah, so most people have a rags to riches story, and I think mine is more of a riches to rags story. My grandfather was superintendent of schools in Detroit for 30 years. He was first president of Wayne State University. There's a high school in Detroit named after him, Frank Cody High School. So my mother was born into a really a life of privilege. She was a debutante. She went to finishing school and really led a very charmed life until she met Emery, and that was my father. And they were both camp counselors up in Camp Chicopee in northern Michigan, and they look like something out of a storybook when you look at the wedding pictures. And my God, who's who was there from Detroit. But things all unfolded when they moved to Florida. And within a 7-year period and a 7-mile radius, we moved 32 times. My dad lost all of his money. They both became alcoholics. And finally, my dad had enough and he was gone. And my mom, you know, it's just an amazing woman. She left us when she was only 54. But this was a woman who was, you know, led a really cushy life until this time. And now, you know, we're moving. My favorite saint was St. Vincent de Paul because I knew he'd be there Christmas Day to, you know, give me the food. We had, in fact, food. We had government food. We had the lights turned. I mean, it was horrific, and not so much for her 4 children, but really for her. I mean, this is a woman who in 1951 rode down Woodward Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. She was the queen of the 250th celebration of Detroit. Hudson Motor Company decorated her float with 49,342 carnations. And her mother did the centennial back in 1901. So this was a woman with privilege, you know, the debutante, the finishing schools, and now, you know, she is got to raise 4 kids. She's never had a job in her life. And, you know, I mentioned the drinking, and she drank pretty good, but she used to, when she was having a few, Adrienne, she'd look over at me and our big 600 square foot house, and she'd say, you know, you may not have anything now, but you kids have blue blood running through your veins. We didn't even know blue blood was, right? And you can be anything you want to be. And so I think she instilled in all of us this sense that, yeah, we didn't have to kind of hang out on the side of the tracks where we were living. And, you know, we could hang out with the attorney's kids and the doctor's kids. And so we all started working at a young age. Me, I started schmoozing at age 11. I sold papers for the Miami News in Fort Lauderdale at the Sunrise Shopping Center. It's now called the Galleria. And people walk by, I'd say, Miami News, ma'am, Miami News, sir, would you buy a paper, please? You know, and I would go on like that. And when they ignored me, and I hate being ignored, I said, excuse me, ma'am, would you buy a paper if I told you where you got your shoes, what state you were born in, how many birthdays you've had? Well, almost everybody would bite, especially when the paper was only a nickel. And I'd say, you got your shoes on your feet, you were born in the state of infancy, and you've only had one birthday the day you were born. So I started schmoozing. I learned that no didn't necessarily mean no. I learned about perseverance. And if we could stay on this story for just a second, I also learned, yes, at age 11, that it's really about reaching out to people, you know, maybe down on their luck or a little less fortunate. And the book is loaded with stories about generosity. One day, my manager came to me. I'm at I go to the center, and it's a Saturday, and he usually gives me 35 papers. He wants to give me 50 papers that day to sell. I know there's no way to sell 50 papers, but I take his challenge, and I go, and I walk the mall 4 or 5 times, you know, and sometimes I'd pitch the same people, you know, twice. And it got to be around 6 o'clock. I was dead tired because I started around 9 in the morning. And I must have looked like the Artful Dodger, you know. I needed a haircut, and I had ink all over me, and I was a mess, you know. But I had 12 papers left, and I wanted to sell those papers before I left. So I'd have 50 papers, and I decided to go across the street to a restaurant called Wolfie's. It was a Jewish delicatessen and kind of like the meeting place in Fort Lauderdale at the time. And I thought, I'll go over there, and I'll try to pitch my papers, sell the last 12 I have over there. And as I got walking up to the restaurant, I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing. I saw a man selling the early edition of the Sunday Miami Herald, which was arguably the largest paper in the nation, bigger than the New York Times. And here I was going to come up and try to sell the Miami News, the Saturday edition Miami News, which was more like a fish wrapper than an actual legitimate newspaper, right? So I thought about maybe, you know, backing off. I said, no. So I went, and I was on the other side of the doorway. He had papers that were stacked up the awnings. He didn't have to say one word. People came up to him and bought a paper, and it was an expensive paper. I think it was 50 cents then. And here I was trying to sell this Miami News Saturday edition for a nickel. And if they came out, I pitched them. I said, Miami News, Blue Street edition, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, you know, I'm 11 years old. I'm not too smart, or I probably wouldn't have tried this. But I was ready to gather up my papers after about 30 minutes. And as I was doing that, this guy comes blowing out of the restaurant very quick. And I thought I'd give it one last shot. I said, paper, sir, Miami News, Blue Street edition. And he ignored me. And I followed him. Sir, would you buy a paper if I told you where you got your shoes, what state you were born in, and how many birthdays you've had? Adrienne, he turned around so abruptly, I thought he was going to hit me. And then he looked down at me. And he said, son, how many papers do you have left? And I said, I have 12, sir. He said, that's exactly how many I want. And then I want you to go home. And, you know, at age 11, that really stuck with me. It really did. And I've led a very blessed life. You know, my dad died at 51. My mom died at 54. And here I am at, 70 and still charging and got all kinds of things going on. So, I've been blessed. I think I was blessed to realize, that lesson at such an early age, and to be able to schmooze at the same time.
Wow, that brought tears to my eyes. What a beautiful, what a beautiful, sensitive man that knew that he wanted to help you.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What was the lesson that you took from that? I want to be clear so I understand.
Well, just to be kind to all. I mean, and reach out to people. I guess it's been 15 years now. My parish priest, Monsignor Caulfield, and my wife and I, we were in Rome, and as we were walking past the Pantheon, I looked. I almost couldn't believe what I was looking at, Adrienne. There was a man on what looked like a skateboard. He had no arms, he had no legs, and he was panhandling. And I wasn't so shocked by that, but I really was shocked about how people walked by and ignored him, like he wasn't even there. And if they did put some money in his can, they'd drop it in, didn't even acknowledge it, and they'd walk off, And so I told Monsignor, I said, let's go see this guy. So we went over and I said the only word I knew in Italian, ciao. And he lit up like a Christmas tree. And we started kind of communicating. He was schmoozing, I was schmoozing back. When we finally decided to leave, I put some money in his can, and Father gave him a blessing. And as I walked off, I took about, 4 or 5 steps, and I turned around, and he was zeroed in on me like a laser. And he was schmoozing, I was schmoozing back, right? So we said our schmoozing goodbyes. But when you look at people and you look at them out in the street, yeah, I mean, the majority of them are hungry. And I'm not a bleeding liberal. I try to be apolitical, but I do have a heart, and I don't think that makes me all bad. But they're hungry. 85% of the people out there panhandling, they're not conning you, they're hungry, right? But they're also very, very lonely. And so I engage these people on a regular basis. I feel guilty, if I'm driving my car. I wonder if he's going to get to my car on time, and I have to go. You know how it is when you're in the car and that happens. So yeah, I think that's the lesson I learned. I learned to be to persevere. I've had a lot of setbacks in my life besides the early childhood. My favorite quote is a Japanese proverb: fall down 7 times, get up 8. And it's a good lesson for all of us, because there's no one who hasn't met adversity head on in their life, right? And so I learned that, and then being a salesman, as I mentioned earlier, I learned that no does not always mean no. That's a defense mechanism that they use to get you to back off. So yeah, that's the lesson I learned there.
I love that lesson. It reminds me of Peter Yarrow. You remember Peter Yarrow from Peter, Paul, and Mary and his song, Don't Laugh at Me. I actually was trained by Peter Yarrow in the anti-bullying program.
Wow.
So anyways, but the words of his song are, I wouldn't be out here begging if I had enough to eat. And don't think that I don't notice that our eyes never meet. And I think that that's so important, that to really, any human deserves the look in the eyes. And I am really, I love you. I love your soul, because I think that's so important that we really help each other. But okay, so schmoozing now. This is so interesting. So first of all, you did you go to Harvard?
No, I didn't go to Harvard. I went to the University of South Florida, but I am proud to say that in 4 years, I worked my way through college, a 4 year state university without any financial assistance. And I worked all kinds of jobs, and that's a different book.
Oh, I love that. I love the way you're thinking. So you had your job, and then at what point did you, like, so what point did you start to write schmooze? And
So, yeah,
what
it
was
was
your career before that?
so before, and I'm still in the career. I had my own advertising agency, and I had it for 25 years in the Tampa Bay market. And then I had a firm out of Birmingham, Alabama. They bought my agency, and I stayed with them. Well, I'm still with them on a
What is it?
consulting.
What's the
It's
name?
called Intermark Group out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Nice,
And
nice.
yeah, so that's been my profession, and I still do that, but I do books, and I have some other interest on the table, if you will.
Okay, so then you lived in Fort Lauderdale,
That's
and
where I was
then
raised.
you were, oh wow, wow. Until when?
So, I mean, until I went to college, age 18, 19, I took off and went to college.
Okay, and then so you're in Lakeland now, which I love. And then so I just want to get an understanding. So ad agency, and then at what point did you decide to write the book? What was going on with your with writing a book, and what made you want to write the book?
Yeah, I thought I had a lot to share. I think I am wired a little differently than most people. Um, Most people wouldn't think about getting a baseball signed by the Pope. Most people wouldn't try to get a meeting with the president of president of the United States in 1 week. Most people wouldn't try to audition, for Saturday Night Live within a 48-hour time period. And so I do think I'm wired a little bit different. I've been, I am not a nuclear physicist. I probably couldn't. Algebra 2 was a subject I never did good. I'm surprised I passed it, but I do have some. I do have some gifts, and I think it's my ability to schmooze with people and interact with people, and walk in a room and have the kind of confidence that a lot of people don't have. And then I started just looking at my life up. It was 2017, and some of the things that have happened to me, and they happened because of my personality. And if we have time, I'd love to share with your audience a guy that really, and it's chapter 2 in my book, and it's called Say Cheese. And it's about a guy by the name of Hugh Hoffman. And Hugh Hoffman was like a father figure to my brother and I when we were living in Fort Lauderdale. And he's one of those people you think you're going to read about in Reader's Digest, one of the most unforgettable characters. He was about 6'6". He had big head, big hands, but one thing that just stood apart was his smile. When he smiled from ear to ear, I mean, you couldn't help but smile, right? But beyond his smile, he imbued, I think, in both my brother and myself. Don't think he imbued in both my brother and myself information about life that we wouldn't usually have. Cody, you never lend money to a friend. It's the quickest way to lose one. Cody, when the maid comes over, I hide money in this seat. Tells me 2 things: one, if she's honest; 2, if she cleaned there. Number 3, if somebody initiates the bet, don't take it. And he was always he bought my high school yearbook. He bought my high school ring. He bought my college yearbook. I mean, I wouldn't have bought those things. He bought me a college ring that I never would have bought. And I have those things today. And just to give you an idea of the relationship that we had, that saying about, somebody initiates the bet, don't take it. Now, he was a very well-to-do guy, right? He'd been married once, and he says, I was married for about 15 minutes. That's all I could take. And it's a funny story about this woman and her two sons, and how they were going after her bank account. They just drove him nuts. He finally had to get a divorce. But anyway, if somebody initiates the bet, don't take it. So about a year later, I'm at his office, and he comes out, and he says, Cody, and he bought a Cadillac every year, right? Brand new Cadillac. He said, Cody, I just got my new Cadillac. He says, and I'll bet you $1 that you can't find the horn on that car. I'll give you 1 minute. Let me tell you something. 5 people have already lost today. And he's and
Oh no.
And I immediately went back in his office. He went back in his office, and I immediately called Connor Brown Cadillac in Fort Lauderdale. And I got a salesman on the line. And I said, tell me, where is the horn on the new Cadillac? They said, well, all you do is you squeeze the steering wheel. I said, really? And so he comes out a little bit later, and I said, Hugh, and my brother and I both call him Hugh. I said, what's this about the horn? And yeah. Let me tell you something. I'll bet you $1. He gets right back into his deal. I'll bet you $1 that you can't find the horn on my Cadillac. I'll give you 1 minute. And let me tell you something. He tells me again, he reiterates, 5 people have already lost today. So we go out to the car. It's got even power windows back then. And I'm holding onto the steering wheel. I'm looking up at this giant of a guy, right? And he's looking at his watch. Now, don't go. You would have thought this was a Kennedy space shuttle or something. All right, don't go. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. He goes, son of a, you know what? He couldn't believe it. I should have known. You're a smart kid. You would have figured that out. But so, and he was just a wonderful, wonderful person. He had like 7 houses in Fort Lauderdale called Religious Vacations Inc., where preachers from around the United States would come, and they would stay there for a week or 2 weeks on him.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How long, so did he pass?
Yeah, he's been gone now for probably 12 years.
Wow. How long did he live till? How old was he when
so Hugh was 81, I think.
Oh, he sounds like a lovely soul. I love that.
Yeah. He was a great guy.
And so he left his mark on you.
He left his mark on me and my brother and other people that he encountered on a day-to-day basis. He for sure was a different guy.
That's so interesting. My dad had the gift of schmoozing. My parents had actually they were just featured on the Today Show. They both passed, but the Today Show, my parents left a legacy of 80,000 toys in a museum in Cheshire, Connecticut, called the Barker Cartoon Character and Comic Museum. So they just, cute Dylan from the third hour of the Today Show was just there and doing a tour of the museum. And I know my dad would have loved every second of it, but he really, he just loved business so much. He was in the Fort Lauderdale area. Actually, my uncle had Art's newsstand on Collins Avenue in Miami.
Yeah.
Art Barker.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I just think when listening to you, I'm thinking how really, if we came to how my dad was successful in the business and having art galleries, that would have been the reason why, is that ability to schmooze. So taking the schmooze and not having a Harvard degree, but how important is it to schmooze in business to find business success?
Yeah, my good friend, and he wrote the foreword to my book, Nito Quibane, Dr. Quibane, president of High Point University. He's written 6 books. He was a founder of the National Speakers Association. And he said, we live in the most connected society in the history of the world, and yet we are more disconnected than ever before. And he's right. The art of actually looking somebody in the eye and communicating with them is not so usual today. And when you look at millennials and some of the younger generation, and quite frankly, some of the people baby boomers. I mean, they got their head buried in their phones, or, and everything's a click or a like, where, I have been very successful in my business. I had to have a digital IQ, because that's what I do. But, I would say that most of the success that I've had in life, it's been, just schmoozing and building relationships. And in the book, I say in one of the chapters, we have building relationships, and the secret sauce: build the relationship, get the client to trust you, and then never let them down. Adrienne, we have clients on the books 20, 25, 30 years, and you don't keep clients that long unless, you know how to not just build or get the relationship, but then maintain that relationship. So that's a big part of the book, and it's a big part of my success.
I love that. I think the book sounds excellent for anyone in like community outreach, and where you have to really be out in the community and developing those relationships. And I can't wait to get my copy. I didn't have a chance to get it, but I'm a SCORE, so I'm the chapter chair, and right now I've got to do a lot of schmoozing to make sure that our relationship, that we're collaborating with everyone around the table. And I do now, I am an extrovert with an introvert kind of, I don't know. I don't do really well schmoozing it. You know where I can't schmooze? I cannot schmooze at a bar. Like anything after hours when it's drinking, I become a totally different person. I'm not confident. I lose every sense of confidence, and I like a wallflower. I get really nervous. I don't know what it is. Breakfast, lunch, even dinner, I'm totally fine. Put me in a bar and I can't schmooze at all. I lose, not schmooze. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we're all different, and it's fortunately I was born with a lampshade on my head, and I'm able to walk into any room and feel quite comfortable and do my Jerry Lewis or whatever I'm doing at the time.
I love that. My friend, I was in the industry with Halo, and I just left Halo to work. I'm promotional product, so I'm on the supplier side now, which I love. And I know we worked with a lot of ad agencies. But anyways, my former regional VP, Rick Green, amazing man, he's actually writing a book on Jerry Lewis and what's the other guy oh my gosh, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, which is really great. So he's got a collectible, so he's got a lot of great things. All right, so talking about your book, so now how can people reach you? Because I think one thing that I love these days is that I could read a book and then I could reach out and ask questions or talk to the author. So how do people connect with you?
So they connect with me. They can go to my website, which is mrschmooze.com, not MISTER, but mrschmooze.com. I have a lot of people that are emailing me, and myschmooze@gmail.com. And the book is available at Barnes and Noble, or, any of the book, Amazon, obviously. And so.
Buy the book as a gift, everyone. Yeah, get the book, you guys, I think this would be a great, Alex, I'll get you the book, honey, my son. I think that this is really important to, for your seniors that are in high school. Get the book for them because they're going off to college. They should be, you know what, get the book when they're a sophomore, because they should start schmoozing for their scholarships so that they're all set before they graduate. So and how is the book written? So stories?
Yeah, so it's not a biography at all. I mean, it's real life. People say it's inspirational self-help, say it's very funny. And it's actually written from somebody who's walked the walk. Sometimes you pick up these books today and it's regurgitated, digital information that other people are using here and there. And every story in the book is something that happened in my life, and I draw a lesson from it. The last chapter is called The Essentials of Schmoozing, and it's about paying a compliment, right? It's about building your brand. It's about appreciating. It's about laughing at yourself. So, I mean, it's jam-packed, and I tell stories, and apparently I'm a pretty good storyteller. It's a fun read. It's an easy read. It's a quick read, but it will be an impactful read in someone's life, I believe.
I believe it. I have a question for you. So when you go to write the book and you look at the title Schmooze, So when I went onto Amazon, I thought for sure there'd be like 100 other titles with the word schmooze, but there's not. And were you surprised too that many people are using the word term schmooze as a title in a book?
Well, there are probably 4 or 5 different books out there with schmooze, but I think this one might be the leader of the pack. And we really haven't been out there that long. We got killed by COVID, and the foot traffic in bookstores was nothing. And really the only way people could get a book was through Amazon. But anyway, this looks like the country's opening up, and I get to
We're
talk
open
to
here.
schmoozers like you.
All right, so you're going to go to, so are you going to plan to do a tour, like a Barnes & Noble tour?
Yeah, we're planning that right now, as a matter of fact.
Good, because we have a beautiful Barnes & Noble here right across from Tager Outlets, so I look forward to having you come here. I'll help promote it in the local community. I'm going to promote the book so everyone can get to know and hear, see it. I think you should have like a schmooze fest. You could do, I see it on Netflix too. I see Netflix series, Schmooze with Cody.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should say that, because there's some people that have been talking to me about a series, and it's called Schmoozers We Love. There's people all across this country. I love people, right? And I love building relationships and delving into their history and so on and so forth. But there's somebody in Peoria, Illinois, who we would connect like that, but I don't know who they are. And so Schmoozers We Love, or Schmoozers USA, and find these individuals around the country who embody the kinds of things I talk about in my book, and especially, making sure that they have a little soft spot for the little guy.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Actually, you would be a fantastic host, so you should have your own podcast called The Schmooze.
Well, I do.
Oh, you do?
I started it, Adrienne, about I don't know, 6 months ago, and I am blowing and going. There's nothing real casual about, as you know, about having your own podcast. I mean, it absolutely, I think I've got 10 in the tank, but I just, I have so much on my plate right now that, I mean, that Schmooze podcast was taking up 85% of my time. And right now I just can't make that happen.
I can totally understand. I did this, you know what? I started Candid Conversations because I wanted to show off my friends and give people. Great. Oh, thank you. And a lot of the guests that I had in the beginning did not. They actually were not used to going on live. They didn't, so I gave them a chance. But I was like, I don't want to ask the guest to give me like, preload questions or anything like that. So I thought I'm going to do no prep needed. It's like if you and I had a cup of coffee, we met, we sat down. I'm not going to Google you in the bathroom before I come talk to you. So I'm going to ask questions. I'm not afraid of live, not afraid of mistakes that we made. Sometimes I had a dog that was senior. I have to get up and catch his poop before he smushed himself in it. But at the end of the day, I totally agree with you. I got the eye of a couple of PR agents who said that they liked what I'm doing. I've been called the HSN of podcasts. Don't even know what that means. Thank you, Captain Joe. Captain Joe Sacchetti, by the way, he gave me the best compliment. His mom and dad love me. That's all I needed to know. But anyways, I think that I do love schmoozing, but I'm always thoughtful of the other person. I don't want to be the schmoozer too much. So I'm like careful. So I schmooze, but then I try to be quiet and use my ears a little bit more. So that's interesting. So schmoozing is a balance, right?
Absolutely. And if you'll shoot me, just text me your address. I'll shoot you a signed copy of the book.
That would be amazing. I really appreciate it. So thank you everyone for watching. This was fantastic. You are a lovely man. I can't wait to see you in Daytona Beach here so that we can promote you. I'm so excited.
And schmooze.
Schmooze Fest. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.